Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the greatest rock and roll stories in the universe, all from the fans' perspective. It's Rock Stories with the Brummster. Now, here's the host of the show, my rockin' daddy, the Brummster.
Hey, welcome, Rock Stories with the Brummster. Real rock stories from the fans' perspective, right here at Rock Stories with the Brummster YouTube channel. Like this video, subscribe, hit the reminder bell in the corner so you can join all of our fans, the greatest fans on earth, their rock and roll adventures and greatest fan stories, concert stories, rock stories with the Brummster. And that's with two M's, right? Welcome to the show. We're going to have a rockin' time tonight, getting into the rock and roll time machine with our good friend Alex Lepore, here to rock us some killer rock stories and concert memories and music memories. Would you like to be a part of the broadcast and share your awesome fans, rock stories, and fans' perspective? It's finally time that we get a program that is focused around the fans' perspective, your perspective, right? You actually have a voice here as a fan. So go to Rock Stories with the Brummster YouTube channel and go in the comments section, contact us, and we'll get you and your killer rock story on Rock Stories with the Brummster as well. Every Sunday as well, check it out, get the app. Sundays at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time at Rock Radio 559. That's Rock Radio 559. Get the app. We're live, Rock Stories with the Brummster, every single Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right there at Rock Radio 559. Great rock and roll variety, over 4,500 songs in rotation, real vinyl, all album side, jukebox weekends, playing an entire album side all the way through from vinyl. So you hear the vinyl sound, the pops, the crackles. Oh man, Brian K. Martinez, Hopper in the morning, and the Brummster as well, Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. for the Hard Drive at 5 at Rock Radio 559. Well, our awesome guest today, Alex Lepore. Welcome to Rock Stories with the Brummster, my friend.
Hey man, it's great to be here. I'm totally stoked to be on the show today.
Man, so I love having fans on. And when I met you, I'm like, oh, Alex, you are a fan. Tell us a little bit about your favorite rock and roll memories and concert stories, brother.
Yeah, well, one that really comes to mind, I've been to a lot of concerts in my day, all sorts of different music, rock music, even a few raves here and there. But one that really comes to mind, that's one of my favorites, is I went to go see Cage the Elephant on the beach a couple of years ago. This was back when I was living in Pennsylvania. So we go, a few of my buddies and I, we go to see Cage the Elephant, right? Classic music like Ain't No Rest for the Wicked, Cigarette Daydream, Cold, Cold, Cold. Just having a good old-fashioned time, kicking it with my buddies and having a good time. Well, we're at the show and we're on the beach. It's this beautiful venue, and I see one of my buddies making his way towards the front, right? And we're kind of in the back middle, if you will. So we're standing at the back, and I see one of my buddies moving towards the front of the stage, and I'm like, hey, my buddy Jason was there with me. I'm like, hey, Jason, do you know what, I think it was Steve or maybe Tom. I was like, hey, do you know what Steve's up to up there? And he's like, I have no idea. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, whatever. Maybe he's just trying to find the bathroom or something. 10, 15 minutes later, we're getting our rock on. You know what I mean? Well, I see my buddy, in the backstage where Cage the Elephant is playing with a VIP pass card. And I'm like, how in the world did he get backstage at this concert? So we're sitting there, and I see him. He's, waving like a maniac to us in backstage. And so I'm, snapping all these pictures and everything. Totally awesome. And I guess he ends up getting kicked out by security shortly after that. But he comes back, and I'm like, dude, what were you doing up there? How did you even get up there? He's like, oh no, I just told him I was another member of the band, and they let me in and gave me a VIP pass ticket. So that's probably one of my favorites. So I have one of my buddies that got backstage. I have all these great pictures of it, and certainly Cage the Elephant is a classic rock and a little bit more modern rock actually. But man, what a great concert, great time with some good friends. That's one I'll never forget.
And he totally blended in up there on the
Totally.
stage like, where's Waldo, right? Where is he? There he is.
I mean, even more so than Where's Waldo. I mean, you would have thought that he was like the lead guitarist, man. Like, I couldn't believe it. He was just up there living it up, living life to the fullest. And, you know, in retrospect, it kind of makes me think I should have followed him back there because you never know. Maybe I could have gotten a few signatures or gotten to meet the guys at Cage. But, man, what a heck of a time. What a heck of a time.
Rock Stories with the Brummster, real rock stories from the fans' perspective here at the podcast at Rock Stories with the Brummster YouTube channel. Alex Lepore with us today sharing his awesome concert and rock memories. Real rock stories with the Brummster Sundays at 11 as well at Rock Radio 559. Alex, man, those are some great memories. Live concerts, right? You know, you get a feeling when you're at a live concert. We had a couple of years here with COVID without so many concerts going on, man. So when you don't have it, you really know what you're missing, huh?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was definitely a bummer. I forget who it was. I think it was Billy Joel was doing his revival tour, and I wanted to go see Billy Joel. And that was in 2020. It was like February of 2020. I booked my ticket. March of 2020 comes around, and as you know, it went from everything is open to everything is closed. So it really did, because I had a few concerts. I remember playing that year to go see Billy Joel and his revival tour. I think even the Red Hot Chili Peppers were playing that year, doing their final tour as well. And I didn't get a chance to go there just because, you know, COVID. So I definitely agree. And I think, you know, with a lot of these concerts, like I'm looking at doing some more concerts in 2023 as we come into the new year. There's concerts all over the place now. You know, everybody seems like they're getting back out there, whether it be modern rock or you're throwing some classic rock back into the mix as well. So I'm stoked to see what the new year is going to hold for new concerts, new venues, and everything in between. I think it's going to be a great one. It's
going to rock. I've got tickets for March, I think 19th, 2023. At the Sororian Theater in Fresno to see John Mellencamp. That's like a bucket list for me. I've never seen John Mellencamp, and the guy's been chain smoking cigarettes for, I mean, through how many heart surgeries, right? And he's still breathing and alive and rocking. And I'm like, man, you cannot smoke the unfiltered Camels like that and live much longer. I want to go see him before he croaks. No, all kidding aside, man. John Mellencamp, bro. Oh, I'm so pumped. Tell me rock stories with the Brummster, Alex Lepore. I keep putting an L in there for some reason. Is that like that's the French version of his name? Alex sharing his rock memories here on Rock Stories with the Brummster. What other cool concert or rock memories do you got for us, brother?
Well, and I wanted to also mention, Josh, if you're looking for any Christmas gifts for me, Metallica is playing the weekend on my birthday here in Inglewood. So I know you're not from the LA area. Are you from the LA area? Where are you living at now?
No, I'm a Central California rocker in the 559, like on Rock Radio 559 Sundays at 11. Get the app, Rock Radio 559. Dude, Inglewood is up to no good. I remember going and seeing the Lakers play there at the Great Western Forum. Man, that's about all I know about Inglewood. Yeah. But I know
when you get a chance, come down. Metallica is playing August 27th. It's my birthday's August 28th. So if you're looking at maybe some Christmas presents and Santa's feeling friendly, Mr. Brown, maybe you could hook me up with some Metallica tickets. But nonetheless, another really good concert that comes to mind is when you go. Have you ever heard of Rolling Loud?
No, I have not.
Rolling Loud they do it on the East Coast. They also do, I think they're moving it to the West Coast. It's a 3-day concert venue. And so what they essentially do is they have 3 days, and they usually host it in, like, Delaware at this massive racetrack, right? And they'll have all sorts of different musicians. They have country, they have rock and roll, they have heavy metal. I remember I saw Limp Bizkit one year. I saw go over this 3-day event. It is just absolute madness. Well, the story of how this whole thing goes, I go, again, with a few of my buddies, always getting into some trouble. We go to this Rolling Loud. It's a 3-day event. And so we go, day one is absolutely off the chain. It is Red Hot Chili Peppers. They got, not AC/DC, but they got like the bands that do the AC/DC music, and they sound just like them. They had like Beatles artists there as well. I mean, day one was just spectacular. Day two is a very different animal. That was all country music, so I'm a big fan of country, but it has to be, you know, a little bit uppity. You know, I like good energy music. So I went to that concert, had a great time on day one, great time on day two. Didn't even make it to day three because day three I was just so tired. I wasn't definitely not getting a lot of sleep. Had a few sodas in my system, and I just remember leaving that concert, and then everybody was telling me after that the third day was the best day. Apparently they had like the Billy Joel artists come in. They had like all these classic rock music. So, you know, in terms of those, I have a lot of really good stories, but for those moments when you kind of shake your head and you're like, you know, dang it, I missed out on that. That's one that comes to mind for me is when I went to that Rolling Loud. I left on day three of that concert or that event. I should not have left. Do you have anything like that on your end?
No, actually, no. I made sure I would not leave. You
did the right thing.
being the Brummster, getting to go backstage. I'm there usually when I was in classic rock radio back in the day. Rock Stories with the Brummster YouTube channel. Alex Lepore with us, rocking his rockin' memories. Yeah,
Sure.
when I was the Brummster at the Fox, for example, I used to, you know, lead the party bus to go to the concert with all the fans, and so I kind of felt kind of responsible to make sure that I shepherded them all safely through the halls of rock and roll on our trips. And so I because of that, I really didn't miss out on a lot. I would say that the first time that I went to go see Pat Benatar, I ended up seeing her later and introducing her live on stage in Hanford at the Fox Theater.
No kidding.
Yeah, and, you know, all the meet and greet behind the stage. But yeah, I came out, ladies and gentlemen, it's Pat Benatar!
Wow.
And, you know, high-five her on the way out and everything. And Neil Girardo, yeah, it was totally cool. But the time before that I was supposed to see Pat Benatar was taking some fans in a limo because they had won a $10,000 shopping spree from the station we were working at. And so me and the chick from the station went out and like did all the live call-ins and anyway, all that good stuff, and drank champagne with the winners. And it was so cool watching them go around Best Buy, driving around in a limo, drinking champagne while they were going around shopping for TVs and all kinds of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Oh my God. But we were afterwards, the thing is we're going over and we're going to see Pat Benatar. Halfway over there, we got a call. She canceled because she was sick or something.
Way.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, bummer. Because when I saw her at the fair, 4 years earlier, she had speaker problems, and it was like popping in the speaker as she was singing, and something was wrong with her mic. Maybe, I don't know, but it sucked. And so I was like, oh, I want Pat Benatar redemption. Second time, can't go to the concert. She gets sick or something like that.
Oh, geez.
Finally, the third time's a charm at Hanford Fox Theater, me and my co-host Carter, and we went out there and I introduced Pat Benatar live on the stage. That was pretty cool.
That is a really good story. One of my very good friends who I grew up with ended up, I don't know if you've heard of the band, The Killer's Confession. They do alternative rock, also some heavy metal, heavy rock. He ended up actually joining the band. Someone I had known for many years, and he is the drummer for that band. I think he may be moving on from that. I'd have to talk with him and kind of see what the latest is. It's been a while, but I remember talking with him about, you know, him touring the country, going to Europe, and, you know, and when you're in a rock band like that, I mean, the lifestyle looks good, but he would come back from tour, and I could just tell he was exhausted, you know, and I was like, hey, I give a lot of credit to you, man, to go out there every night, give it your all on that stage. Every show that he did had that same fire and that same energy. And I always ask him, get me a little bit of swag, you know, if you could sign a Killer's Confession shirt or something, that would really help me out. But I remember just him telling me those stories of being on tour, and, you know, he would be someone to get on your show here, Josh, because he's met all sorts of classic rock legends. I mean, I think he had met, at some point, he had met Korn, he had met all sorts of different bands, and I'm sure he can tell the story better, but it's interesting, you know, when you grow up with somebody and you get to know them, and then they become this rock star, you know, and I just work for a battery company. it's funny just to look at it in retrospect. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, we feel lucky every day, right? With some of those experiences with,
We
who
do.
you got ties to like that. That's really cool. You feel happy for them. Like, wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, isn't it? And I hope, this year, if I could get back, I'd love to be able to see Guns N' Roses or ELO would be awesome. Or,
That'd be
and
rad.
wouldn't that be? And knowing I'm kind of, with Fleetwood Mac, I know, I can't remember her name.
Christy
She just passed
McVie,
away. Yes, Kristen just passed away. And that was a band I always wanted to see with Fleetwood because I really enjoyed a lot of their early music. You know what I mean? That was always just that's how I got into rock and roll, and that's something when I saw that news, I was, it's definitely a little distraught. That was definitely the music that it got me into it, and I liked her voice, and that music is just classic. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally, dude. Totally, man. Christy McVie, she, before she passed, her song Everywhere that she led the vocals for is on that car commercial that's just, can't get it out of your head. I want to be with you everywhere.
Yeah, I want to be with you. Yes.
Yeah, just what a coincidence that really hit in all of our mindsets as she passes. That's a trip. GNR, you mentioned wanting to see GNR. Did you hear the other day that just a normal thing that Axl does at the end of every GNR show, throwing the microphone into the crowd, and for the first time he came out afterwards, we didn't know this happened. It popped someone in the face and injured them.
No way.
And so from now on, although we thought, hey, it's been a tradition for GNR to do this at the end of every concert. So we figured everyone was, expecting it. But apparently this chick was just not paying attention and got bopped and was on the ground. And man, oh, wow. So they had to say, oh, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. I'm like, what?
I mean, can't we just give everybody helmets in the audience? At that point, we could just hook them up with like a helmet. That way, if you do get bopped, at least you got a little protection on your noggin. You know what I mean?
Whatever happened to crowd participation, like with Gallagher, another late star? Wow. Come out with a sledgehammer, man, with flying pieces of fruit and whatever, get a poncho, man.
Get a poncho, get a helmet. I mean, you are going to a rock concert. You never know what to expect. When I would go to concerts, and whether it be a rock concert, I would go to those, 3-day raves, I would call them back east, or 3 days of a concert. You got to stay hydrated, and you got to be ready for anything, because you never know what the days are going to hold for you. And if you're going all day, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, you're there for the experience. So you got to be ready. You got to be sharp. That's one thing I've learned in my experience of going to many concerts for many different kinds of music and venues. Now, I just moved to California area. Are a lot of the events hosted here, at least that are they hosted down here in Los Angeles? I know you being in the Central Valley, are they more north in like Northern California? Where do you go in California? I guess if I just SoFi Stadium, do you go up north to where the Niners would play? What does that look like?
Yeah, Santa Clara, SoFi, Inglewood, but a lot of these really good bands are coming through even Central California and more rural areas lately.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they realize the fan base is everywhere, not just, but yes, definitely hitting the big stops, the big cities, Seattle, San Francisco, down there in Los Angeles, SoFi Stadium. My Aunt Sue, on a previous episode right here on Rock Stories with the Brummster, she called in live on Rock Stories with the Brummster from the Rolling Stones North American debut concert that night from SoFi Stadium. She called me. She's like,
wow.
we got to do it live, man. Come on. I'm like, okay, you got it, Aunt Sue. She's with Fans on the Run. She's seen Paul McCartney, I think, 131 times or something like that. Like, it's called Fans on the Run. They follow Paul around the world. Yeah. I mean, could you imagine if you could do a Fans on the Run style thing, which band or which artist would you kind of emulate that? If you just magically had no bills and you could just do it for a while and not give a crap, like just go for it. Like, man, what band or artist would that be, huh?
Yeah, Josh, that's a question. That is a question of the ages right there. I'd have to pick between two. I think one of them, man, that's a good one. I'd have to go see the Eagles at some point.
Yes.
I have to. I think that's just like rite of passage. You know what I mean? And then if I had another choice, if I was following two people, if I had a clone of myself, I would think that it's got to be like Pink Floyd, maybe even The Doors. I mean, The Doors would be an awesome concert to go to if you were to catch them in their prime. But I have to say, I mean, it'd have to be the Eagles. I would tour with them. They've been all over the world and do all sorts of different shows. I'd probably say the Eagles.
Oh my gosh, the Eagles, and Glenn Fry no longer with us, but man, the Eagles. I heard Jackson Brown, the original writer of Taking It Easy, actually, he wrote it and gave it to Glenn. So
right.
how fitting. I heard Jackson Brown is playing in Glenn's spot, touring with the Eagles right now. So yeah, you've got the closest thing to the original Eagles, even though it's not with Glenn. You got the spirit of Glenn there rocking through Jackson Brown, filling in his spot. The actual writer of Taking It Easy. I mean, how perfect is that, right?
That's that's definitely perfect. And I remember, me being from the East Coast, there's a lot of very big cities within driving distance. You have New York, there's Boston, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. So I remember at one point, I ended up, like, another rock story of mine would be at one point, it's summer, it's like July, it's the weekend, either before or after the 4th of July. And I'm looking at just going to a concert, and I look around and there was lineups everywhere. You know what I mean? So I remember in Boston, you would have like there was a Stevie Nicks revival band that was playing along with like The Who. And then in Philadelphia it was Journey and like the Doobie Brothers, for example, and then in Washington D.C. it was like Deep Purple or AC/DC. Well, I remember I had like information overload at that point. I ended up just going to the one in Philadelphia because that's where I was living at that time. But totally awesome show. I honestly don't remember who I saw. That was a couple of years ago. And it was a lineup of people. It was probably 7 or 8 different bands, all of like either the original folks that had played in those bands or the revival. And I remember just thinking, wow, on the East Coast, you could just bop around to each and every city within a 5-6 hour drive. And you could see all different kinds of bands, whether it be the classics or revivals and really everything in between. It was really cool. That's why I asked that question about where the heck do you go here in California. Things are certainly a little bit more spread out. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally, man. And not so centralized like over there in Philadelphia area where you're so close to so many great venues. You mentioned earlier, and it just jogged my memory, Rock Stories with the Brummster, jogging our rock and roll memories with Alex Lepore today here at Rock Stories with the Brummster. Thanks for joining us. Like and subscribe, folks, here at the Rock Stories with the Brummster YouTube channel. So you mentioned earlier, Alex, how did you ever have a situation where you missed out, where you felt, did you shit, like your third day where you missed out at, you know what I'm saying? Like you dang it, I should have been there. And I couldn't think of it at the time, but you jogged my rock and roll memory. I never got to see Elton John. I had front row tickets with the Fox where I worked at. And I ended up, I think I worked that night and I went ahead and gave them away to a buddy. I don't feel bad about gifting them to him because he was able to take his mom for his mom's birthday and it was like a big deal for him. And so, I worked out as a friend, but damn it, I missed my front row seats to see Elton John on his piano tour. And oh crap. That kills me because I don't know if I'm going to get to, chance to see him again,
Well, I was just going to say, didn't he just do his last performance here in Los Angeles?
That's right, on Disney or something, or Hulu or something.
Right? It was like a month or two ago, I saw something that he did his last performance ever. I mean, it definitely sold out. I remember seeing pictures and watching a little bit of the performance, and I mean, the venue that he is at is packed full. I mean, absolutely packed full. It may have been his last show, Josh, unfortunately, that. So I don't know, maybe if a revival tour, if he comes back like some of these bands do, they say they're done, but they just can't get enough of it. Maybe so. You never know.
Like every time you look over in the headline, Cher or Tina Turner be doing like their 20th farewell tour. They How many farewell tours can you have?
How many farewell tours can you have? And I want, I actually just thought of something, and you asked, who would I go and see or travel with, and I said the Eagles. If there was one particular concert that I would go to, I'd probably go see Queen at Live Aid. I think that would be legendary. And I had, I'm a younger guy. I had, my parents and, friends of my parents who had told me they had went to Live Aid, way back in the day, or had known folks that go, and they just said that experience there was unlike anything they've ever seen or been a part of. So if I could go to a particular concert, that's what I would go to. But what about you? If you had the choice, money's not an object, what concert are you going to? Who are you going to go see, and at what venue?
You mentioned Billy Joel earlier, and I like Billy Joel. I'm not like a Billy Joel super fan, but I like Billy Joel. A Billy Joel song comes on, and you immediately just know it and love it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say I'm a super fan. Nevertheless, he did that concert from Central Park in New York, and I was just like, oh, wow, to be there, that would have been cool. If I could have hopped in a time machine, magical powers, I'm there. That's probably one for sure.
That's really cool. Yeah, that would have been really cool. And now, was that during the summer? If I remember correctly, that wasn't like a winter tour, was it?
No, that was summertime.
So.
Yeah, summertime.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah.
Central Park's a cool place too, and if you were to see a concert with the city in the background, wow, that would have been something.
Madison Square Garden, I've never seen a concert there. Staples Center down there, I've never seen it's not, what is it, Crypto Center or whatever.
Crypto.com Arena, I think it is now.
For now, right?
For now, until they change it next year, you never know.
I'm telling you, man, these venues, they change all the time. So, but the cool thing though is like I said, a lot of these bands are now smartening up, and they're playing some rural areas in between as well. Like I get to go to Fresno and see Saurian Theater. Saurian Theater is just amazing, connected to the Selland Arena in Fresno. Historic bands have played there. And at the Saurian Theater, you go in, it is just beautiful inside there. Like, wow.
That's awesome.
You think the Met or something when you go in there. So gorgeous.
Yeah.
Velvet everywhere. And oh, wow. It's like, we're going to have a rock we're going to have a rock concert here. Going to see John Mellencamp, man. John Mellencamp.
Ooh, that'll be a good one. Make sure you get some videos of that. That'll be a good one.
I know. I can't help myself. Now, I don't want to be like everyone else who spends the entire time recording the whole thing, because that person is not living in the moment. They're living for some projected moment later on, which is fine. Whatever floats your boat. But I've done that. I've done that before, thinking like, look, I'm recording it all, and then I think to myself, and now I just missed all of the fun, man.
I feel like if you're recording, and I've caught myself doing the same thing at any concert, and if you're recording, I feel like you're not listening. You're focused on your camera and your angle and getting that shot, and you're not listening. And I think you nailed it on the head. You're not in that moment. So now I think whatever you do in life, I think instead of recording that moment, why don't you just look at it and hear it and smell it and be in it? And I found out when I go to concerts now, I mean, I definitely take a video or two. I'm not going to lie. I definitely take a video or two. But then I put the phone away. I put the technology away. I'm in that moment. I use my eyes and my senses, and I'm there. I'm present. I'm there, and I leave that, and I feel a lot better about that experience that I had, and I feel like, wow, like this was the concert. I feel great about coming to this. I have no regrets about coming. I saw all the little nuances of how these rock stars do their shows. I saw all the the backstage personnel working. I saw them drinking their water. I wasn't just sucked into the phone. I think more people got to just get off their phones when they go. A video or two is fine, man, but you can't. That's why you're there. You want to watch it and you want to see it.
You nailed it, and you mentioned drinking their waters. I read a story the other day that rock and rollers have changed their ways for longevity's and longevity's sake, and for their health, and now they're caring about their health. Mick Jagger, so old, still active on tour. He has a whole entire trailer with a gym in it that follows him everywhere he goes. You've got they've amazing diets. doing ice baths afterwards and hopping into like hyperbaric chambers and, oxygen and like, eating right and recovery. And they're treating themselves like professional athletes now versus the old sex, drugs, and rock and roll of the old days, huh? They know that doesn't work if you want to live, huh?
I mean, longevity is a big factor. Like I said, with my buddy that plays with A Killer's Confession, the schedules and the glam of rock and roll is awesome. But when you look at the scheduling and the amount of driving and traveling that they do, it is important to take care of your body. Just like, that you and I do in our job. You got to take care of yourself, take care of your body, take care of your mind. That's how you can play as long as folks like Elton John have, or, other bands that have had just superb longevity over the years because they just took care of themselves. They didn't beat themselves up earlier in their career. Not to say that wasn't a fun thing to do, or maybe I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just a matter of fact of, hey, if you want to keep playing and keep doing your rock and roll, man, you got to take care of yourself.
Right, except for Keith Richards, who still always has a nice cigarette hanging out at all times at the corner of his mouth. A miracle, that guy.
That's just what he's got to do, though, that's just what he's got to do. And I remember watching, I go back to that Cage the Elephant story, and, I had a few sodas at that time, and all the guys that Cage the Elephant were maybe having a few sodas up on stage. And, now I look back and I would say, well, that's a really bold move, to have a few sodas, be up on stage, or you're giving it your all, you're sweating bullets up there. So it's funny that you mentioned that longevity aspect. Now they're drinking waters and going to the gym rather than doing other things that are probably not so good for them.
Rock and roll yoga.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling you, man, it's a whole nother rock stories with the Brummster. Alex Lepore here with us, rocking his rock memories with us and his perspective, the fans' perspective. Isn't it awesome? I love the shows, Alex, where Sammy Hagar's driving around talking to the rock stars. I love Dave Grohl, all that good stuff. I love when the stars do it too. I love it. I'm a fan. But I created Rock Stories with the Brummster so we could do a podcast based on the fans' perspective. I couldn't find it anywhere. It's kind of unique, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important because I think we all bring that different perspective on, the shows that we've been to, the experiences that we've had. And what's cool about music is that it transcends time and it transcends generations, whether you're young, you're old, or whatever. We can all get along with music, and that's why I love talking about music, going to different concerts, because not only do I always, 9 out of 10 times I meet somebody new, but it's usually somebody new that is completely different than who I am as a person. I learn about that person. We bond over music, man, and that's why I love going to these concerts and being present in the moment, being open to meeting these new people. And then coming on here on your show, Josh, I mean, this is an absolute honor. I am totally excited. I was so totally excited coming into today, knowing that I was going to be talking with you here. I had always seen you post about it, and I was like, I got to get on that one of these days, man. Like, I feel like him and I would have a great time, and I've had a great time being here. So thank you again, just to reiterate, thank you again for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, my pleasure, man. My pleasure, Alex. Do you play anything, or are you like me and wish you could?
I wish I could, man. I had played the saxophone, so nothing like the guitar or anything. I played the saxophone as a younger person, but no, when it comes to music, I wouldn't say that's not my strong suit. Let me just say, I probably could play something, but no, I wish I could. I wish I could play the guitar, or even the drums would be really cool.
Hey, saxophone, man. That's the big, awesome sound in the song Urgent by Foreigner. That's the sax jam that keeps up the tempo in Studio by Phil Collins, man. Love the sax. Was it in there? Am I correct? No, maybe it's not. Maybe it's the horns. Studio. Anyway, whatever. Well,
maybe 2023 is coming, Josh. Maybe you and I can make resolutions and keep each other accountable. Maybe we could learn a musical instrument, even if it's the triangle. I don't know. You could start off the show with doing some triangle rhymes if it would fit.
Hold on. I got the shaker here. There we go. That's all. That'll work. I am a professional. I've already made my resolution and kept it, and it hasn't even happened yet. Wow.
I love it. I love it.
Forward thinking. Well, brother, thanks for joining us on Rock Stories with the Brummster, Alex. I'll make sure I get this up on our Rock Stories with the Brummster YouTube channel. And, you know, do you have any other great stories or thoughts you want to share with our audience?
As of right now, I don't. I'm sure if more stories come to mind, I hope next time, Josh, I can come back on here. And hopefully I'll have some better 2023 memories. That way we can reconnect next year at this time, and I can tell you some even more crazy stories on my rock and roll adventures in 2023.
Oh, I can't wait, man. I can't wait. And thank you for sharing your awesome rock and roll memories. It feels like we're in a time machine from the fans' perspective. Loving it, Alex. Thanks, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank
you again, brother.
Hang on the line for engineers. I'll be right back. Rock Stories with the Brummster, real rock stories from the fans' perspective. Alex Lepore, my good friend and fellow rock and roll adventurer, on the program today. 11 o'clock every Sunday, Pacific Standard Time, and Rock Radio 559. Get the app. And also as well at Rock Stories with the Brummster YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the reminder bell, and continue in our quest to share great rock and roll memories, concert stories, fan stories, all from the fans' perspective. Right here, Rock Stories with the Brummster YouTube channel and at Rock Radio 559. Have a rockin' day. Thanks for rocking out with us, man.